We've talked about a bit about opioid agonist, and so we'll go on to talk about opioid antagonist and also agonist antagonist. So we have naloxone and naltrexone. So naloxone is a mu antagonist, and it binds lesser to the kappa and delta receptor. While pentazocine is a partial mu agonist, and it may precipitate withdrawal in opioid dependence. So it's not a good idea to give people who have been taking opioids for a long time, for a prolonged period, to give them pentazocine, as that might precipitate a withdrawal reaction in opioid dependence or opioid maintained patients. Buprenorphine is a partial mu agonist. So it's a mu agonist, but it's a partial one, and the action is prolonged due to tight receptor binding, and it's an effective analgesia. It's an effective analgesic, provides effective analgesia, and it's usually taken sublingually or by injection. As for oral doses, it's not satisfactory, as the drug is metabolized rapidly by the liver. And buprenorphine associates with the mu receptor slowly, but with high affinity and low intrinsic activity, and also slow and incomplete dissociation. And due to the slow dissociation from the receptor, this is why probably the intensity of withdrawal is not that bad, and this happens probably by preventing the rapid uncovering of the receptor upon discontinuation or stopping of buprenorphine treatment. So when you stop buprenorphine treatment, so the receptor uncovering doesn't happen very quickly, and this slow dissociation is the reason why we probably don't see a terrible withdrawal with buprenorphine. Butorphanol is an agonist-antagonist opioid with affinity to both mu receptor and also kappa receptor. So nalbuphine is similar to pentazocine, so they are both partial mu agonists. However, but nalbuphine has high affinity for the kappa receptor. So we have talked about the main opioid receptor agonist and antagonist, and also the mixed agonist-antagonist. So now we're going to talk about specifically about the kappa opioid receptor agonist. So Salvia divinorum is a hallucinogen, and salvinorin A is the main psychoactive compound, absorbed mainly by the respiratory tract. So it's absorbed mainly in the respiratory tract, and it's highly selective, and it's highly selective full agonist of primate and cloned human cerebral kappa opioid receptor. So the effects of salvinorin A usually last for about 30 minutes, and you might see someone develops depersonalization, hysterical laughter, feeling like transforming into people or animals, and feeling of being in multiple places at the same time, levitation, and increased sense of self-consciousness. So these are some of the things that will happen when someone takes this hallucinogen, which happens also to be a kappa opioid receptor agonist. Let's talk a little bit about the opioid use disorder criteria, which is from the DSM-5 of the American Psychological Association, APA. So they come up with criteria to diagnose disorders related to psychiatry, and it's widely used. So it says that a minimum of 2 to 3 criteria is required for a mild substance use disorder diagnosis. Okay, so you need 2 to 3 for a mild substance use disorder. To say that the patient has mild substance use disorder, you need 2 to 3 criteria. Okay, only 2 to 3. But if you have 4 to 5 of the criteria, you say it's moderate substance use disorder. And if you have 6 to 7 of the criteria present in a patient, then you say that this patient has severe substance use disorder. So these are the criteria. Taking the opioid in larger amounts and for longer than intended. Okay. Wanting to cut down or quit but not being able to do it. Spending a lot of time obtaining the opioid. Craving or a strong desire to use opioids. Repeatedly unable to carry out major obligations at work, school or home due to opioid use. So these people become dysfunctional at work, school, and also at home due to their use of opioids. And they continue to use opioids despite persistent or recurring social or interpersonal problems caused or made worse by opioid use. So despite a lot of problems with family, friends, etc. due to their opioid use, but they still continue to use it. And then stopping or reducing important social, occupational or recreational activities due to opioid use, so they might quit their jobs or they might quit certain posts in society, or they stop exercising, they stop playing soccer, they stop playing football, etc. due to the opioid use. So this is a criterion. And the recurrent use of opioids in physically hazardous situations. So as some of you have previously observed that some opioid users, they abuse the opioids while sitting under the bridge, and in many hazardous situations, in many dangerous situations. So they keep using the opioids at a place where they know they can use it, but actually they are subjecting themselves to a lot of harm. And consistent use of opioids despite acknowledgement of persistent or recurrent physical or psychological difficulties from using opioids. So they know that they have again and again, they have physical problems and psychological problems from using opioids, but despite all of this, they continue to use opioids. So you need at least 2 to 3 of these. For example, the patient it's taking the opioid in larger amounts and for longer than intended, for longer than wanted. So he's wanting to cut down or quit but not being able to do it, spending a lot of time obtaining the opioid. So you have 2 or 3 of this, then you call it a mild substance use disorder. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you call that, you say that the person is having moderate substance use disorder. And if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or more, then you say that the patient is having severe substance use disorder. So this is how they diagnose an opioid use disorder according to the latest DSM criteria. So I think that's about it. That's a brief introduction to opioid abuse, and I hope that you have benefited from the mini lecture. Thank you. Bye.